Episode 2 opens up. So Tay's just waiting for O to come so they can start tutoring. He gets impatient, grabs a drink, and then he goes and paces outside. So I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell he's like eager to get this going. So I thought that was nice. And then when O does arrive, and it's boss again driving him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Tay is like, "What is he? Your chauffeur or something?" So I thought that was cool. And then
Yeah. And then the mom kind of plays up like how proud she is of him for getting early admission. And then the brother, pays for the flight for him to go to, I guess, Bangkok. And so you do see a little bit of jealousy on O's face there in that scene where it's like, oh yeah, here's the perfect son, like going to his perfect school. And like, I'm just a nobody, like I didn't get admitted. I'm kind of salty. He's pretty salty here. Like he's eating lunch with him.
Yeah, I think it's dinner actually.
Or dinner. Yeah. Before tutoring. And you can tell he's a little bit spurned because he's probably not feeling too great about the fact that he didn't get in.
But he's bummed, and he's like,
yeah,
why do I have to even plan it out this far ahead, right? Which is interesting because he's trying to get into communication arts, and he's like, oh, why can't I just put this off till later? I'm only a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
It just brings that, like, it shows that pressure that we were all having in senior high school as seniors.
Oh.
And it's like,
yeah,
I need to get into a college, etc., etc.
Yeah. And he kind of needs like a fallback plan, because if he doesn't get into comm arts, like he's talking about, if I don't get into like the big university, then my parents are going to want me to do help run the business, help run the resort back home. So maybe I should fall back to like a business degree if I don't get into the major university.
And Tay is like, oh. And like he does his best to try to encourage O at this point. And I thought that was really nice of him. Like he's like, no, don't give up on your dream, right? And then he's like, I'll help you, like, don't worry. And it's at this point O also gets a phone call from Anastart University saying, hey, by the way, you're the first on the wait list. So if someone gives up their direct admission spot, you get the spot. So he's super excited, wants to go celebrate, and Tay's like, no, we gotta freaking study. So I thought that was like that one little bit of happiness that O just really needed after not getting in.
It kind of like compelled him to have a little bit more confidence and feel like he wasn't just a nobody, and got him excited about studying again.
Okay, so this little important symbolism here, O writes in his calendar, right, when the waitlist announcement day is.
Yep.
And so after he writes it, Tay takes the calendar and writes the day he's going to confirm his early admission. And then he smells the pen, and the pen scent is coconut. He's like, ew, what is this smell?
Yeah, gross. Blech.
And I was like, hey, that's my trademark, it makes me relax, etc. And I think it's really funny because I was like, smell my hair, and he's just teasing Tay the whole time. And then the dog, Tuti's like, woof, woof, right? Every time they try to get close to each other.
Yeah.
It's like, this dog
is onto it.
Yeah, this dog knows something, man. So I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And then Tay shows how he writes the characters that he doesn't remember out.
Yeah.
And then he shows the practice book, and then looks at the practice book and is like, why'd you write this word for 2 whole pages, which is the word rival? And O knows. O knows at this point. Because he's like, you mean me? You mean me? And I thought that was really funny. And then how Tay then like shows him the flashcards, and then he's like, okay, I gave you so much. Can you help me out with something? And it's Instagram photos.
Oh yeah, then he helps him like get all styled up and cute so he can get some followers.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And he's like, see, you have to do a side profile here. And Tay's like, are you calling me ugly? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, no, go back and try to take this photo again. It's I don't know, it's hilarious. Yeah. And so I think it goes to intimate. The book flips to the word intimate at that point.
Right, in the wind. So really what's happening here in this episode is, the broken relationship, like they kind of confronted each other about it, and now they're sort of starting to repair it.
Mm-hmm.
And seeing if they can, kind of start fresh, I guess, with Ted, like encouraging O to study and do better. And then, seeing if they can both accomplish their dream of getting into comm arts and sort of helping support each other do that. So after we've got like a nice healthy friendship starting to establish, now the question of sexuality sort of like comes into play for the first time when they're driving back. And, O makes a joke about like, hey, if I'm putting my hands up on my bike, it's like I'm touching boobs, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of joke about that, and he's like, "Oh, would you know? Like, have you ever like touched a girl's boobs?" And he's like, "No, like I'm chaste. I'm a virgin." And then the other guy kind of jokes like, "Oh yeah, me too. Like I'm chaste. I'm a virgin."
Yeah.
And so you see this very like innocent dialogue play out about them both sort of confessing their virginity. And it's kind of funny because here we have two friends that like just hated each other a moment ago. And now they're like friends again. And like one of the first conversations they have is like, "Oh, like I'm a virgin."
Yeah.
That's a pretty like personal thing to tell someone, especially at that age. So it's kind of like amazing that they like made that leap, even though it like started from a joke.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like top of mind, right? Like, hey, like, do you have a girlfriend? Do you know?
Yeah.
So they're getting close pretty quick.
Yes, very quick. It's basically their middle school friendship rebonding very quickly. And yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting, right? He's like, and O doesn't just outright say it. He's like, keep it a secret, okay? Don't tell anyone else. Right. And he's like, I'm a virgin.
Yeah.
And then at the pier, they're just like, go away, bye. It's like, oh my gosh. Yep.
And he kind of kicks his feet, and
yeah,
he can tell he kind of wants to watch him leave. And so yeah, you do start to see at this point their relationship. There's something kind of keeping them, like pulling them towards each other.
Yeah.
Right. Like there's definitely this magnetism or like gravity or whatever you want to call it, but there's like a force between them, and that becomes really clear in this scene especially.
Yeah, you can tell it's starting, especially when they're again. Oh, it's after one of the tutoring sessions. They go out to get dessert, I think, and study with each other, and O had invited everyone. Oh, just side note, apparently Boss actually did have a girlfriend before. Yeah. So that just random note there. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, going back to Boss. Yeah, so they were saying how they all had girlfriends, and Boss even says he had a girlfriend. And they're like, oh, Tay, is working on one girl. like trying to get a girl to be his girlfriend. And they're like, there's only you left, oh. And then I was like, yeah, I'm a virgin, big deal. And Tae's like sulking right after he says that, right? And I'm like, oh shoot, is Tae like concerned? What's going on with Tae, right?
Oh yeah, so this is when they're all talking about like girls.
Yeah. They were talking about girls because I think like Maud was talking about his girlfriend or something. And anyway, so yeah, Tae sulks, goes to the restroom.
The scene where Tae goes off into the restaurant and like heads toward the bathroom. There's just so much really good stuff to unpack here.
Oh yeah. O chases him.
Yeah, so O kind of looks over at Ted and like sees him sulking like Alex was saying, right? And he messages him is like, hey, like he picks up on it right away, right? He's like, hey, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, he can read Tae like easily.
Yeah. So he's like very concerned. He's looking over at him and he probably feels like he just goofed, you know, and he's not quite sure what's up. But, you know, he knows that Tae is upset. So Tae's just like, all right, I'm going to go to the bathroom, like, see ya. So now we have Tae walking away from the table. O is like super concerned. The rest of the guys seem to not be really cued into it because they're just like goofing off, having a good time. So this already shows you, right, like how connected O and Tae are just based on the relationship that they've formed thus far and gotten how quickly and how closely they've gotten so quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, it really does show it, right? Like that concern, and like Tae doesn't actually know what's wrong with him, which shows like he's trying to confront what the feeling is, right? And this right. plays out in a couple more in the next few scenes where like Tae goes back to school and then like tells his friends he's virgin as well, and they're like, huh? And the reason being is like, O was like, oh well, they're our friends too, right? Like I can tell them.
Right.
After Tae tells his friends, he realizes that didn't actually solve anything. So he's like, oh, this is kind of weird. And like he realizes he just wants to be special to O, like a very close, like the closest friend.
Yeah. And what I love about the restaurant scene is he's clearly hurt that something so personal that was shared between him and O is now sort of public information.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really know why he's so hurt by that, right? Like, he's pretty confused. All he knows is he's bummed out. O doesn't really know what's up, like, what's wrong with him. And he's like, you know, I don't even know. I don't even know what's wrong with me. Like, forget about it. But clearly, after mulling it over for a few days, he does, you know, realize that it kind of bothered me that we had a secret that was between us and we lost that yeah, just like that, like inside knowledge, right? Yeah, like that bond, that's that thing that we shared that was just for us. And what that really means, right, in this context is that, oh, so I'm no different than the rest of our friends. Yeah. Right. And so what I think was cool is that Tae actually realized this. It took him like a little while to get around to it, but he came up to O and like basically told him point blank why that bothered him.
Yeah. And what's interesting though, right, is like he had to go through all these steps to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. He was not tuned into himself.
Yeah. Like, he broke the secret to his school friends, but the thing is, their friend group is way closer still, I feel like, than what he is to his friends at school, right? Like, so he's like, oh, well, that didn't do anything. So when he actually does realize it, I love how he snuck into O's school.
Oh, yeah. He sneaks in.
Just by changing his pants.
Yep.
Yeah, and then he just like point blank goes, hey, you know, it just bothered me that you told them when I thought it was just between us, and I just want to be like the close friend, right? The closest friend. And then O reassures him, right? Like, you are my closest friend. Don't worry. You know, after that confession, O is like trying to like, oh, okay. And then he's like reading Tae as he goes, oh yeah, you are my closest friend. But he can tell Tae's like not believing him. And then O goes, okay. I'll tell you a secret no one else knows.
Yeah.
Right. And he says he has a crush on Boss.
This completely blindsided me because here I am thinking, like walking into this scene as a viewer, I'm thinking, okay, if I were in Tae's position, I would probably have figured out by now that like, I'm really into this guy. I want him to be my special friend. I want the intimacy between us to be like kind of a secret. And I'm possessive and jealous, right? Like, I feel like walking into the scene, I was expecting him to be like hit by that, like with a ton of bricks. But instead, the total complete opposite happens. And I was just floored, right? Like, O tells Tae, I have a crush on Boss. And at that point, Tae is like, holy shit, I'm so glad for you. That's amazing. And like, It's not fake. It's not put on. Like, he actually is pretty excited to hear this news. Like, it's not like he's faking it, but inside he's tortured. Like, he's not even to the point where he understands his feelings toward O to be hurt by some kind of information like that, right? And that blew me away because I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and it just shows you like that like self-discovery phase. Like, he's not as far as we think he is. He's just to the point where like, you're my best friend and we shouldn't be sharing secrets to people that we're not that as close to, right?
Yeah.
But Tae hasn't realized that he actually probably wants more than just a best friend, right? So yeah, I can see how you were like totally floored by that.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have gone various ways, right? Like,
right.
I was like, okay. For me, I think when I saw this, I was like, okay, well, Tae's definitely not caring if his best friend likes a guy, right? So he might be a bit open to it. Also,
true. But he's just so genuinely happy. Like, he's smiling and his eyes light up.
Yeah, and not only that, he's like, I gotta get you two together, right? Like, he's, not only is he happy, he's playing freaking matchmaker at this point.
Yeah, he's so into it. Like, the look on his face is almost like, oh yeah, this is juicy, this is good, like, this is exactly what I wanted. And yet they're having this kind of discussion in a super intimate setting, in a private hallway. Like, if I were like walking in on this show at this scene in any other moment, I would have thought, oh, these guys are totally in love.
Yeah.
But actually they're having a totally completely different conversation.
Yeah.
Despite this whole weird context of it looking super romantic, like Tae's against the wall, like leaning back. He's got a confident look on his face. He's being kind of coy. And yet like they're talking about, being in love with another guy at this point. So it's like, holy crap. Yeah. All of my expectations out the window. This completely blew me away. I was so like stunned and happy because it was not following the formula of like every other show that I've seen. Yeah. It's telling a very different story, and it's taking its time, and it's, checking you into reality, right?
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to think like, oh yeah, they like love each other now. This is great. But like, no, the director's like, nope, reality check. Tae has no fucking clue he's gay and doesn't know he loves O, and that's okay. That's where he's at in his personal journey.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening in this moment. And you as a watcher or as a viewer have to adjust your expectation and come back down to earth. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like, I thought it was so sweet how he was trying to get Boss and O together, right? He like messages O, I think, while they're in the cafeteria, and he's like, "Hey, try getting closer to him." And this, there a few things happen here, right? O leans his elbow in toward Boss, but then Maud catches him do it. The blonde hair kid Maud catches him, and O retracts his elbow. And it makes you wonder what Maud was thinking now, right? Like, oh, what's going on, right? Like,
yeah, like the friends aren't clueless. Like, they know.
Yeah, and they're not gonna, like, I mean, I feel like Maud probably wouldn't have said anything till later in private, right? Like, right. If he tried. And then, so, it's funny that he chickens out. And then O sits next to Boss in Chinese class, purposely forgets to write his name on his paper. And Boss leans over and goes, hey, write your name on so it doesn't get lost. And then he messages Tae, who's literally just sitting on his other side. And he's like, yeah. Oh my god, who actually writes the name down for their friend, right? And then Tae's like, dude, this coming from the guy who chickened out.
Yeah. You know, throughout the series, Boss is pretty comfortable with himself, and he's very much ahead of the friends in terms of, like, he knows himself, he knows what he likes, he knows what he wants.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, he's pretty comfortable, like, with all of this, but you can see how, like, Tae and O are, like, a bit less mature. Yeah. You know, like, they're not quite at the level that Boss is at yet.
Yeah. Also, because I think Boss has had literally since sophomore year for him to realize his feelings.
True. Yeah.
I mean, obviously it didn't start on the first meeting, but, like, obviously he's had 2 years to develop feelings, realize the feelings. So he at least, I feel like at this point, he at least just accepts that he likes O. I guess at this point, they're at a restaurant, right? Eating.
Yeah. Well, they're, like, having a study session.
Yeah.
At a restaurant.
At a restaurant. Yeah. And then Tae's like, I got a plan. Because Maud had started talking about his girlfriend, and then, like, they pointed out some other girl, and Boss looks super interested, and then O is just, like, frowning, upset, and Tae's like, man, I gotta cheer this guy up. So he's just like, I have a plan. And O's like, what's your plan? You'll see. And then he just, like, outright blurts to his friends, right? I'm hitting on O.
Yeah.
And his friends are, like, shocked. Just totally shocked. And, like, you're kidding, right? And then they looked over. Or O looks over at Boss, and Boss looks away because Boss was looking at O. And there's a frown on his face. But then you see O just smile at that point.
Yeah. Because he knows Boss is oh, shoot, I have competition now.
And then Tae's like, oh, I was just kidding. And immediately on point, Boss says something, right? So...
Yeah, and Boss is kind of indignant, too. Like, the expression on his face, he's just like...
Yeah.
Wait, what? No way. But it does spur him into action, right? Because then he leans into Oeo and says, hey, why don't you and I hang out, just the two of us on Saturday? And Oeo is like, like thunderstruck, right? So clearly, something happened.
And then they're on the phone later, and Oeo's like, can I please tutor study with him on Sunday? And Tae knows it's not going to end up as a study session, right? Like, he's like, dude, you're probably just going to end up spacing out.
So I'm just going to be transparent here. I am a huge fan of Tae. Like, Tae is my favorite character by far. But that aside, what I love about this scene is it was another thing where I just didn't see this coming. Like, I did not see Tae coming out and blurting out to all the friends, I'm going to be pursuing Oeo, right? Like, that was another moment where me as a viewer was just like,
huh?
Wait, excuse me? Like, what? Like, they even tricked me, right? Not only did he trick the friends at the dinner table, they tricked me too. I'm sitting here like, wait, what's going on? Wait, what? Oh my God. Like, I'm about to have a heart attack. And what I love about it is you can't fault it as a cheap trick, because this is exactly the type of character that Tae is.
Yeah.
He is smug and cavalier, and he's got all this bravado. He wears tropical shirts, like aloha wear. He's constantly got a big fat grin on his face, and he always looks like he's got, some plan. And so you can't really fault him. Like, this is totally in character for him, and it works. And I love it because it's not something typical that you see, right? You don't see this type of character very often and pull it off as well as he does. But then what I loved about the end of that scene was after Boss invites Oeo out is the director pans to under the table and you see and Tae brushing knees with each other.
Yeah. Repeatedly.
Yeah, repeatedly, right? And so you're like, oh no, like this is getting interesting, right?
So O actually does go study with Boss, right? And I guess this is where you could kind of see, I feel like Tae is jealous, or his feelings are developing and he's still trying to figure it out, basically, because he gets a text from O saying, Boss and my knee are touching, he hasn't moved away.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where he goes for the kiss with Tarn.
Or Tarn kind of like...
Yeah, Tarn went for it. Like, so he moved in.
Jumps him.
And then, like, he just rested his chin on her, like, shoulder. You know, when he came back up, she, like, attacked it. She attacked those lips of his. You know, and then after these dates, these respective dates, they both asked each other about it. Oh, wait, but before that, though, they started avoiding each other again.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think Tae is jealous, and like when they're back in Chinese class, he doesn't greet O. He just asks his boss how is tutoring.
Tae and O are both on their respective, like, quote unquote dates, right? And like you were saying, O brushes knees with the boss and then kind of shares it with Tae, right?
Yeah.
And Tae gets kind of fired up by it, right? Like, gets kind of fired up by it. So then we go over to Tae reaching over toward Tarn, who's drawing, and she is drawing with a red pencil. So this is where it gets really interesting, because she's drawing with a red pencil, and then he grabs the pencil and starts coloring her hand red. And as we know, like, if you're a viewer, as you know by now, red is the symbol for OAO, because he has a red phone. He always wears a red jacket. He wears a red swimsuit. Like, he is, like, red is his deal. And so you can kind of interpret the scene as, like, even though he's kind of courting Tarn in this scene, like, his fixation is on OAO at this point. Like, yeah. And so, like you were saying, then leading into the scenes that follow, we have this weird tension come in.
Yeah.
Right? Because Tarn it's too soon for Tarn to understand that he's into OAO. You know, she tackles him, she kisses him, she thinks it's all great. Like, she thinks he's courting her, but he's actually thinking about something else probably when he's doing that.
Oh, he definitely is.
Even if he doesn't know it.
Yeah. He hasn't realized it.
Yeah. But the symbolism of the colors helps the viewer understand that, you know, subliminally he's fixated on OAO by now, probably.
And OAO cares a lot about what Tae feels for him as well. Because he is hurt, you know, when Tae avoids him. It's kind of like a mechanism for him to just avoid things. Because, like, I feel like he's jealous, and then, like, I think it's later on you find out, like, he doesn't like telling others something they share. And then end of episode 2, they both say, don't give my time to someone else.
Yeah. Oh, I really, really loved that part.
Yeah. So that was on the boat. And Tae actually realized that he doesn't like, giving away, you know, the tutoring time they had together to be with Boss. And so, like... Right.
So he's starting to realize that.
And then I think the most important symbol of the relationship, like, getting way closer is the fact that while they're messing around on the boat, Tae, like, sniffs Oeu's hair, and he's like, what's that smell? It smells nice. And Oeu's like, it's still coconut.
Yeah.
And so now he likes the smell of coconut, right? So it's like, here we go. So something's about to happen at this point.
Yeah. So Tae gets super distant, and then they, like Alex was saying, they go onto the boat, and this was actually an interesting scene on the boat too, because Tae, like, After O gets off the boat, like Ted follows him onto the boat, even though he doesn't need to go anywhere. After O gets off the boat to go to his resort, to go home, Ted just stays on this boat.
Yeah, I know.
Like he literally just stays on the boat. He's clearly lost in thought. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just whatever. I'm just going to ride this out. And then like a few minutes later, O comes back onto the boat.
I thought what was funny was that the fact that like he looked like he was about to follow O off the boat.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. He just like stays on the boat. You're like, what are you doing? Not only that, he got on the boat before O got on the boat. Like, what? So, yeah. It's kind of weird, but yeah, they have that sweet moment at the end.
Yeah, this was the part where you realize that they're getting to a point, like it's going to come to a tipping point pretty soon because their intimacy is growing throughout this. Oh, but when they're on the boat and they're doing the flashcards together too, all of the words are related to, you know, the heart and the way he feels, and it's super, super gripping.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can feel this like unspoken.
Yeah. And the explanation of the word sad, like how to remember it, like this word means
Yeah,
means heart, and this means the effect two people have or something, or pushing or pulling or something.
Force.
Yeah, force.
Yeah, that was beautifully put. Yeah, like it's like two people using force against each other's hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, whoa, okay, I'm gonna sit here and think about this for 10 solid minutes because that was deep.
So deep. I think it's too deep. Ted doesn't even know. So.
Yeah, I think Ted, it's like over his head, but as a viewer, you can really appreciate, you know, the director's intention here to incorporate like the characters and the meaning of the characters, and like using that as a way to map the progress of this relationship.